Hello and welcome to this If Oxford event exploring innovation beyond our borders. It's a pleasure to welcome people from all over the world and people who are joining from across Oxfordshire and beyond this discussion event to explore how research and development happens in all sorts of different cultural and geographic situations. My name is Dane Comerford, the Festival Director. It's a pleasure to introduce Tim Hart, who will be chairing and managing this discussion. Tim is from Oxentia as the Director of Development and has been leading on the Leaders in Innovation Fellowships Programme, sometimes called the LIF Programme. Tim is also a trustee of Oxford Science Festival, the If Oxford charity that runs the festival. So it's really good to have him guiding the direction of the events that we put together and also leading on global innovation throughout the year with people across the globe. So Tim, over to you.
Welcome everybody. Dane, thank you very much for that. It is a pleasure to be able to more actively participate in the If Oxford Festival. Those of you who are not in Oxford right now may be missing out on some of the in-person events and the excitement around our city to celebrate a lot of the innovation work that goes on here. So my name is Tim Hart. I'm Development Director at a company called Oxentia here in Oxford. This is probably a business known better internationally than locally here within Oxford. We're a small innovation management consultancy of about 30 people now. We basically help scientists, innovators, entrepreneurs, mostly from outside of Oxford, to bring their ideas to life, to help them develop their innovations and turn them into products and services for the world. Within business setting, within university settings, this is called technology transfer. And that's exactly how we started out as a business. Now over 15 years ago, from within the University of Oxford's Technology Transfer Office. You see, the University of Oxford was one of the first and quickly became one of the most experienced in helping researchers take their ideas out into the real world, transforming technologies from bench to business. And it wasn't long before other universities came to the Tech Transfer Office and asked, how do you do this tech transfer stuff? Can you help us? So being helpful academic types, we did help them. And then more and more people came. And so we set up a business unit within the Tech Transfer Office to help people outside of Oxford. This quickly turned into helping people all over the world and brings us to what Oxentia does today. In fact, to date, we've operated in over 70 different countries on most continents of the world and now operate outside of and independent to the university's Technology Transfer Office from which we first came. And there's one thing that we've noticed from our international experiences from our Oxford base. It can be a very different experience for researchers in other places compared to environments such as Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, Stanford, MIT. These environments are actually very privileged. We're very lucky with what we have in Oxford. These environments have lots of experience in bringing new ideas to life. They have infrastructure such as business incubators to help the ideas develop. They have investors to fund them. They have IP experts to protect the ideas, and they have experienced business managers to help the researchers build businesses and bring the ideas to market to benefit people and our planet. But in many, many other environments, in fact, we estimate within ecosystems that represent over half the world's population, the situation is very different. Researchers have a lot less access to resources and support to help them bring their own ideas to market. Yet, everybody has approximately the same size brains, right? So we feel it's quite unfair that resources and support focus only around a few great research centers in the world. Many, many others can be very underserved. To exemplify this problem, in 2015, 3/4 of the world's startup capital went to just 4 US states. Oxentia helps innovators and entrepreneurs from all over the world, mainly from academic settings, to help them bring their new ideas to life. We used to think what they really need support with is business planning, IP management, pitching skills, financial management, all those hard and soft skills that you need to develop a business around your idea. They do need this, but for the majority that are developing their ideas from less developed ecosystems, what they may also need support with is inequalities that they may face. These range from a lack of available capital for their ventures to inequalities around gender or other underrepresented groups. Our vision in Oxentia is a world where all worthy ideas and intellectual efforts are brought to life. From Latin America to Africa to Asia, and even from the rural corners of the UK, helping to connect entrepreneurs and innovators to resources they lack to help them bring their ideas to life. Now, we work on many programs across the world, and as Dane mentioned, there is one that I'd like to introduce you to today. This is the Leaders in Innovation Fellowship Program, or the LIF program, that we work on with the Royal Academy of Engineering. This program has been running for the last 7 years, has supported over 1,200 innovators and entrepreneurs from over 17 different emerging economies of the world. Those impacts that we've captured tell us that this group has gone on to raise over $80 million in investment and create over 1,700 jobs. We're excited to find and have the privilege to support these innovators, to bring them the connections and the support and the inspiration from Oxford to help them not only bring their new ideas to life, but to impact and inspire many, many others within their own communities and national ecosystems. We believe technology entrepreneurs are the great agents of socio-economic change for our future world. It's these change makers that make the difference. Governments just try and create the right settings for them to get to work. And it's these great change makers. They don't all congregate around the campuses and hallowed corridors of the world's greatest academic institutions. They're out there at the coalface, often experiencing firsthand some of the great global challenges that we face in healthcare, food security, energy, climate, and poverty. They are often sitting within the great economies of the future. And it's here where, supporting these great change makers, Oxford's demonstrating its impact beyond our own county borders. It's a pleasure to bring you today 5 of this year's LIF cohort to present their innovations and their stories to you, and for us to have the chance to learn from them, of their motivations, their challenges, their opportunities, their adventures in bringing their ideas to life from across the world. It's a privilege for me to introduce them to you, and I'd like them all to say hi if they could now, so please be prepared to unmute yourselves. So firstly, Takayo Shimabukuro from Peru. Takayo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Tim. Hello, everyone. It's really nice to meet you.
Hi.
Okay, and Li Yang from China, are you there?
Hello, yes. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Great.
Hi.
Okay, Joseph Ondari from Kenya, are you there?
Right here.
Joseph, great, thank you. And Dean Pen Japrong from Thailand, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Great. Good evening, Dean Penn. All right. Okay. So I'm going to ask each of our innovators to present their innovation and story to you now. And then we'll have a chance to discuss all together in a panel format, which I will moderate, to gain some insights and inspiration from a very geographically and culturally diverse group of innovators, supported from Oxford on their entrepreneurial journeys. We invite our audience to comment in the chat, to give a running commentary of what resonates, what surprises, what intrigues you about their stories. This is your chance to learn what innovation is like from the other side of the world. So, first up, I'd like to invite Takeo from Peru to present his innovation story. Takeo, you have around 10 minutes and then perhaps a few minutes for some questions. So Takeo, please feel free to share your slides now.
Okay. Can you see them?
Get started. Yes, we can. Takeo, over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Tim. Hi, everyone. I'm Takao Shimabukuro from Peru. I know my name might sound a little bit Asian, but I'm 100% Latin American. My dad's Japanese, but my mother's Peruvian, and I've been born and grown my whole life here. For those of you who don't know Peru, we are the third largest country in South America after Brazil and Argentina. We are almost always leading the charts when it comes to food and diversity. We have almost every landscape you can imagine, beautiful beaches and surfing tournaments in the Pacific, rallies in the desert, 6,000-meter snowy mountains in the Andes, and tropical forests by the Amazon River. That picture of the coast in the bottom left is actually where I live, in Lima. We also appear among the countries with the greatest entrepreneurial ambitions. I'm 25 and I graduated with honors from the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru to be a mechatronics engineer. And I am currently studying an innovation professional certificate at Stanford, of course, online. Disclaimer, I do not have a background in research. I'm an entrepreneur engineer and I'm passionate about innovation, product design, and machine design. That's a photo of me whenever we have to prototype some new products for the company I run, and I'll tell you about it in some seconds. I currently work in my own company, as I already told you. My company is called Inventum, and I am a lead product manager. Of course, as a founder, I am also involved in management, sales, manufacturing, finance, and more. So if you ask me what the best part about being an entrepreneur is that one day I could be meeting with the president or with some minister or with some general manager from a big company. And the next day I would be on the floor just tightening some screws in one of my machines and helping the technicians finish the job so I can deliver them on time. I also work as an executive pitching trainer. In other words, I train executives in business schools and diverse industries such as mining, banking, education, and energy to give impactful presentations as if they were entrepreneurs. And as I told you before, my company is called Inventum, and we are aiming to shape the engineers of the fourth industrial revolution here in Latin America. If you ever ask an engineer what they remember they did as kids, chances are dismantling their toys is on their top list. Engineers learn by doing. And if you let me change this phrase a little bit, engineers learn by breaking things, experimenting with them, and solving trouble. And I think scientists do too. And as a former engineering student and now as a teacher, I can tell you that we will always need to gain real experience in labs with real-world technologies, while universities need to secure jobs for their students, thus needing to constantly renew their lab equipment. Of course, there already are some options in the market. The local training equipment offer is good, but lacks a user-centered approach, while the foreign offer is just too costly, has a deficient local support, and it has no link with LATAM's industries. So how are we solving this? With a complete 4.0 tech learning experience, which includes real-world industrial technology in secure, intuitive, and user-centered training stations, with material to support teachers, resources, and augmented reality, and of course, consultancy services for faculties. That's me in the photo, by the way, with one of our client universities. We have over 60 training equipment options in our catalog, including automation tech, process control, domotics, robotics, IoT, pneumatics, and more. So we help students attain hands-on experience with the latest technology in our error-proof training stations. We help teachers stay updated and co-create our equipment with them to best fit their training needs. And we help institutions make best use of their budget with regional support. We are unique because we are the link missing in the education ecosystem in LATAM. Thanks to our partnerships with tech manufacturers, we bring new and current technologies into universities, thus positioning our partners' brands in the minds of young engineers who will be capable of boosting the region's industries. This is some of the examples about augmented reality and the online training platform I was telling you about some seconds ago. We are trying to enhance the experience for the students and to make it a real 4.0 experience for them, so they can use the same technology they are learning to program to be trained in the use of these technologies. To date, in 2 years, we are already working with 7 universities in Peru and expect to expand to other countries next year. We're almost completely bootstrapping this. We have not asked for investment yet. We also have partnerships with industry leaders such as Siemens, Schneider, and Epson, who are helping us keep our clients updated with the best technology. We truly believe we can transform the way people learn and teach in the 4th industrial revolution. These are our partners. And these are some short videos where you can see our products in action. This was our first model, our first line of training stations. We're operating all over Peru. And now we have a new model. We always try to design a new product every year, incorporating feedback from the previous ones. My entrepreneurial journey has been awesome. I have learned how to build and operate a business while still leveraging my technical skills. I have been lucky enough to attend programs and events in Chile, China, and of course now, although online, in the UK, thanks to government funds and to participate in hundreds of contests. This ultimately led me to discover my passion for pitching and to start mentoring other entrepreneurs, specifically to help them improve their pitches. Furthermore, I work as a trainer in diverse companies who appreciate I can teach their executives how to present their ideas as if they were entrepreneurs, founders. To date, I have helped more than 350 startups and companies build impactful and compelling sales and investment presentations. Among my clients, I could mention many business incubators, accelerators, and entrepreneurship programs in Peru, Chile, Mexico, and Argentina, and companies in diverse fields such as mining, banking, retail, e-learning, and insurance, and others. So I think that's everything I had to tell you. It would be amazing if you had any questions, and I will be glad to answer them.
That's absolutely great, Takao. Thank you very much. We'd like to focus any questions now on just making sure that we understand Takao's journey, his business, and what he's trying to do here. So if we can focus those questions on that, that would be great. There's a question from Elliot that I can see here. He says, Takao, I was wondering if your technology is something you think could be used outside of Latin America as well. But Takao, what's your international plans for your innovation?
Yeah, I do think my products could be used outside of Latin America. However, outside of Latin America, we would have a lot more competition. There's lots of manufacturers of this kind of equipment in Europe that are much more advanced than us, or in the United States. So I think the main advantage we have is that we know Latin America's needs, we know Latin American culture, and that's why our products are expanding here in Peru, and we plan to expand into Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, and more. So I think, yeah, my technology could be used in other countries instead of Latin American ones, but it would be, I think, much more challenging to get to compete outside of our continent.
See, that's a very interesting point you raised, Takayo. This is therefore an innovation which is very well suited and fit for purpose for the region. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's the risk or the issue that you face with competitors from Europe or the US entering a market that you've created?
Yeah, there's lots of risk. I think the main barrier now is costs, costs and the delivery times. But I think, yeah, the main disadvantage we have is, the funds we have to innovate are limited. Right now, we're only bootstrapping. So, of course, if a foreign manufacturer would manage to enter the market with low costs or to establish a factory here, that would be a really interesting challenge for us if we were ever to be able to compete with them. Yeah.
And just to focus a little bit more, Takayo, on the problem that you're addressing, and if I'm right, this is a problem that I remember seeing 20 years ago in researchers that we would meet from places like India, is that there is much less opportunity for the students to gain the practical skills because there's not so much resource available to them. They don't have laboratories full of they can't play with planes like they perhaps can, or aviation engines like they can in other places. Can you just tell us a bit more, just so that we get more of an insight here?
Yeah. So, for example, if I only spoke about Peru, I think we have 40 or 50 universities and institutes trying to teach students how to use this kind of equipment, but only 6 or 7 of them are really well equipped because they are private and have the resources. And other institutions just try to optimize the resources they have. Most of the time, teachers or professors have to buy separate items, and they have to build their own equipment in-house. That adds a lot of work for them. They have to be in charge of maintenance. Whenever one of those equipment gets damaged by a student, because we learn from our mistakes, they might have to wait for 5 or 10 years before they have the budget to replace it. Just to give you an example, there are projects that are 7 or 8 or 9 years old that are still running because bureaucracy here in our, especially in public institutions, makes it really difficult for them to keep their labs updated, right? So yeah, there's big trouble here, and we are trying to cope with that with equipment that's low cost, but that has the same quality and training offers foreign manufacturers have.
It's such a critical point you raise, isn't it? The importance of experience in education. We could talk about this for the rest of the afternoon. That it's okay helping our students with the knowledge, but unless they have the opportunity to learn through experience, and therefore giving them the more expensive resources, it's very hard to move beyond the knowledge.
Yeah, and resources, as I told you, are really limited here. Professors are among those who are less paid in the country. So I really don't know how that's in Europe. I think it's the other way around, but here, teachers in schools, professors in universities, and medical doctors are among those who are less paid because they are all depending on public institutions. So that's how you could have an idea of the limited resources the education sector has here.
Oh, thank you very much. And I know how hard it is with these ed tech innovations. It's you're dealing with a customer base which often isn't rich in itself and able to afford that. So they're often hard businesses to get traction with, but you're doing a phenomenal job, and it's to your credit. It's wonderful to see. Any other questions or comments for Takayo? Otherwise, we might shift to the other side of the world. Okay, Takayo, please stay on the line. We want to bring you back for the panel discussion. Feel free to turn your video off if you so wish. Takayo, thank you very much for that communication. Right. Lei, we're going to cross to China, but you're not normally where you are in China, are you, Lei? You're in the north.
I'm not at home. Yeah, I'm on a trip to. I'm staying in a hotel actually. Yeah, there's a conference tomorrow morning. I'm hosting that conference. Is about biomaterials. Is in a different city. It's called Shenyang, and it's about 500 miles away north to Beijing. Okay. Very cold right now. A little bit chilly, and we don't have heating yet.
Oh wow! Okay, well, if only we could afford heating in this country now. Our energy prices are going up a little bit. Right, Lei, if you have some slides, please feel free to.
Yes, share. I do. Okay. Thanks, team, and it's a great pleasure. I mean, to talk to different people from all over the world, and I think it's a great honor to attend this Oxford Festival. I mean, in the past 7 months, more than 7, right? We start in February, the Leaf 7 program, right? And have bring together a lot of brains and ideas from all over the world, and we have been learning from each other. About the entrepreneurship and everyone's idea and pathway, how to do the business, do the tech transfer. So today I'm going to also share something in the past 10 years we have been working on. Is a product we named it as a reservoir. Okay, and my name is Lei. I'm currently also a professor at Hebei University of Technology in Tianjin. Besides what I'm doing, I'm trying to commercialize this technology we have been developing since almost 10 years, 2011, right? And I still remember 2011, I graduated from Brown University in USA, and I decided to go back to China and to start my own career as a faculty member at Suzhou University. It is very interesting is I got this position in the Orthopedic Institute at Suzhou University. And my background is material science. So I have been learning material science and biomaterial science since undergraduates. So I was very curious, and I asked the director of the Orthopedic Institute, I said, you are a physician, you are an orthopedic surgeon, and you built this orthopedic institute for advancing, either the clinical technology or the surgical skills of the orthopedic surgeon. Why you want to hire me, a material engineer, right? And to work in this institute. And he told me a story. He said, as an orthopedic surgeon, they have been dealing with a lot of the biomaterials as medical device, including the bone cement, those titanium screws, titanium plates, all the time. And he said a lot of patients came back with a lot of pain and a lot of problem associated with those materials. So he believed it is a new direction for orthopedic research to work with material scientists to develop new types of the material. So this is one of the outcome. I mean, after we collaborate with this director, Professor Yang, and he shared the same surname as me. So we became very good friends. And after I came back to China, we have been developing these materials together. Okay, and we call it, we want to make the fractured spine reborn. So I'll give you a little bit backgrounds and why we want to do this. All right, and I want to start with this question. Can anyone imagine how you start with a simple sneeze but ended up with death? Have you ever heard a story like that? Okay, but this is a true story. This is the case for a woman aged 81, and she had very severe osteoporosis. And in the morning, so this patient, she woke up and had a sneeze because she had very severe osteoporosis. So this simple sneeze actually caused her vertebra fracture. So she got this spine fracture because of a simple sneeze. So she was sent to the hospital because she's very old. She was very old. So she can only give this what we call the minimal invasive surgery called kyphoplasty. Okay? And this surgery is not new. It has more than 20 years old history, and it has been used in many hospitals. So the idea of this surgery is basically if you have a fractured vertebra, so the surgeon will put a working canal and then insert a balloon into this fractured spine. So you will see in this cartoon, then the balloon was inflated and you spine, the structure, the height was reinstalled. Okay? And then they retrieved the balloon and added a material called PMMA bone cement. Okay? This is the only material that has been approved by Chinese FDA and US FDA, and I think any other parts of the world as well, to allow use for this surgery. So unfortunately, this patient experienced a very severe leakage of this cement during the surgery. So this cement was basically flow out of the vertebral body and goes to everywhere in her lung. So this is the picture showing the leakage of the PMMA cement going into a patient's lung and caused this side effect, very terrible one, pulmonary embolism. And this thing killed her. So this is a real case. Okay, it started with a simple sneeze. You use very advanced minimal invasive technology or surgery technology to cure this. Okay, and the kyphoplasty is supposed to be very safe and very less pain because it's minimal invasive. However, there is a very hassle problem about the cement. The PMMA cement has a history over half century, okay, and has not been improved since it's first invented. So the leakage is a terrible problem, which is lethal. So let's look at some numbers here. Since the osteoporosis is inevitable, it will happen to everyone when you are getting old. I mean, the number in China is over 2 million people has this osteoporotic spine fracture in China. And with a very high growth rate, about 25%. And unfortunately, 50% of the symptomatic patients, they die after 4 years if no action is taken. So you have to do some surgery. And many of them, if you're old enough, you're not allowed to do this open surgery. And the kyphoplasty I'm showing you is the only choice you have. But this kyphoplasty could turn into a nightmare because of the cement. So the catastrophic cement leakage could as high as 30%. And it gives you the lethal complications as I showed in the previous slides. And even you're lucky enough, you're not die from this cement leakage, you still have a secondary fracture within 1 year. 40% of the patients have this. This is because the PMMA cement is very stiff. It's basically a very stiff material stay in your osteoporotic spine. So the adjacent vertebral body are very weak. And this is very easy to cause the secondary fracture. So what we do is we want to tackle this problem. And we have formed this team about 10 years ago, and we come up with this innovative solution. So we call it a ResoBone. This is an injectable cement based on most of them are calcium phosphate, which has the similar chemical similarity or chemical composition as your bone. and it is injectable and it's fast solidification. Even you inject it in water. So after 15 minutes, as you can see in the cartoon, it will solidify. And we have shown you, this is an experiment we do. We injected this into a vertebral body, and can easily stay there and restore the height of your vertebral body. So this cement is leakage proof. It's tissue friendly because most of them are calcium phosphates. And it is also biodegradable because your body recognizes this material, and the cells, they can degrade this material and inducing new bone growth. And the research has been showing if the patients using this material, it has high likelihoods to this chief surgeon, Professor Huilin Yang, he said this is a revolutionary bone cement. They have been waiting for quite a long time. So our goal is trying to revolutionize this spinal surgery. So after 10 years, we have developed this technology. And what currently we are doing is trying to commercialize it and trying to make this into a viable product that is available to patients and orthopedic surgeons. And we are currently the first mover in China in this field of the biodegradable bone cements. We have raised about $1 million from Chinese government to do the R&D transfer research. And we have been finished the preclinical trials, and we are put on our schedule to run the clinical trials next autumn. So what do we do is our team, we including 5 PhDs, 2 orthopedic surgeons, and also we have 2 commercialization partners. We're trying to improve the patient's life quality post the surgery. And as you can see, because this material is biodegradable, it won't cause the secondary fracture or other side effects. So we will say it will reduce the national medical and surgery costs. So this is our team, Rezabone, the lead med, the company we call. And what we do is trying to making this fractured spine strong again. Okay, thank you. And I would like to thank you for giving this opportunity to sharing our story and our technology. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, Lei, thank you very much for that. I'll just let everybody into a secret that all of our innovators that we're presenting today have all been supported by us and our colleagues in improving their communication of their research. Some like Lei have pretty deep tech innovations that they're communicating critically, not in their native language. So in a second language. And Lei, I would like to congratulate you on such a great presentation and communication. Thank you so much for enlightening us with this. We've got time for a question. And well, there's a comment from Elliot, and Elliot certainly did not know osteoporosis could be treated like this. Maybe you could tell us a bit more on the international markets. You know, if how is this problem treated in the US or in Europe?
Sorry, team, I lost you. The connection was bad.
It's okay.
What's your question?
How is this problem treated in other countries? So in North America or in Europe?
Thanks. I mean, what we're showing you, this kyphoplasty, this is basically international accepted. We would not say this is a gold standard for treat this disease or this problem, but this is widely adopted. So this about 20 years ago, actually more than 20 years ago, I think it's 1998. This kyphoplasty was first invented by a neurosurgeon in Europe, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it has been, promoted and adopted by the orthopedic surgeon in the past 20 years. This one was first introduced into China in 2002. about 4 years after it first invented. And currently, this skill or this operation, kyphoplasty, is widely used in the Europe, in the USA, and many other countries as well. Right. I mean, I have also mentioned that before this thing came out, people are using open surgery. Okay, so they basically they have to cut your skin out and then to relieve to show the spine, and then they use the screw and the rods, bone screw and the rods to connect this to vertebral body and to restore the height of the fracture part. Okay, this is before the kyphoplasty. This is pretty much the only way people do that.
Okay, so other people are doing this technique of injecting in cement, but you're using a biomaterial. Is anybody else using a biomaterial, or is everybody else using cement?
People are trying to developing a similar material as what we do here for this surgery, but no one currently has been approved for use in clinical settings. So the only one can be used right now is only in the PMA cement. And there's a USA, in the USA, there was a company about 5 years ago I have visited, and they developed a similar biodegradable cement, and they're trying to use this for the kyphoplasty surgery. But they haven't achieved that goal because the material they develop is not strong enough. So people are still thinking to improve this material, but not a single one has been approved by the FDA, by the Drug and Medical Device Administration.
Okay, so and just a brief comment from a question from Ian here is, how have you, or how are you going to assess the lifetime properties of your biomaterial? How do you know that this is going to survive long enough in the body?
So what we've done so far is to run this animal test on large animals, for example, sheep. Okay. So we have been performed this animal study over 1 year, about 14 months up to now. And what we do is we have to tracking how the material, what happened to this material in the sheep vertebra. And for most of the doctors, they want this material to be stable and mechanically strong for at least 6 months. And some of them want this over a year. So what we do, what we have seen from the large animal study, the sheep study, and interestingly, we use osteoporotic sheep. Okay, there's a way you can make that animal model. Okay, and we see this material can stay there for at least 6 months. You will see the sign of the degradation. For the complete degradation, you have to wait until over a year. So we think this material is safe in the body. What we do next is we're going to wait until another couple of months. We want to wait until 18 months, and then we can, sacrifice the animal and harvest the vertebral body to do more analysis to see how the material perform.
Okay, all right, Lei, thank you so much. There's a lot of interest around this, and orthopedic technologies and biomedical engineering technologies are very popular in Oxford. We have a lot of experience, so it's fascinating to hear about the work that you're doing across in China. So, Lei, thank you very much for that great communication. Okay, let's move on. Via the wonders of Zoom, which I hope are here to stay post-pandemic, we don't need to emit any carbon. We're going to go all the way from China all the way across to Sao Paulo. Hopefully Renata is there. Renata, are you there?
Yes. Hi, everybody.
Hey, fantastic. Hello. So please, Renata, feel free to share your slides.
Yes. So hi everyone, as Tim just told you, I am in São Paulo. It's a rainy day today, but it's very good to be here, and it's a privilege to present myself and the business for all of you. And also I want to say that it's a privilege to be part of the LEAF program. I've been learning a lot with the training sessions, the mentorship, and chatting with and exchanging ideas and information with all the colleagues from all over the world. So it's very, very great. So I will share some slides. So first, I have a question for you. Actually, I want you to think about this information here. Did you know that there are over 2 million people waiting in the waiting list for organ transplantation worldwide? This is a huge number, and the number of organs for that's available for donation, it's not as high as this number of people that need these tissues and organs. So there is a very critical problem related to the organ shortage or worldwide. And our mission at Tissue Labs, our startup, is to produce human organs for transplantation. So Tissue Labs is focused on 3D cell culture and 3D bioprinting. We know that this mission we have to build functional organs is kind of far away. It will take us many years to do this because it's very complex science. We need to design and take care of a lot of critical points of the products and the materials. So at the meantime, what we do is to develop products to solve more immediate problems and also provide the scientific community that is involved in this kind of research products to build more reliable and with more that can mimic with more reliability. Sorry, I just confused words. What they have to do to achieve the goal of the whole community in tissue engineering. So basically, we want the whole scientific community to work together and have specific products that we can provide a complex environment to cells to grow and be able to achieve these complex and functional organs in the future. So I told you that we are focusing on 3D cell culture and 3D bioprinting. But here I want to present you what we do need actually to bioprint. What is bioprinting? So bioprinting is when you combine a material with cells and specific signaling molecules, for example, and you use a machine, a 3D printer, to build complex structures. So 3D printers are now very common. People use for a lot of applications. And as the same in our field of expertise in tissue engineering and regenerative medicine, we are also applying this kind of machine to build complex structures. So ultimately, we want to build functional organs. And what we do at Tissue Labs as biomaterials, so we also work with biomaterials as our colleague Lei from China, but here is a little bit different. We work with decellularized extracellular matrix hydrogels. what does it mean? So we start with porcine organ, and then we remove all of the cell content from this organ, and we remain only with the structure. So we call the extracellular matrix. And after processing this material, we achieve a hydrogel that at room temperature, it flows. But when we incubate at body temperature, 37 degrees, it becomes a gel. So as you can see here in this photo. And why is this interesting? Because when we do this, we keep all of the proteins and the environment the cells have in the native body, let's say. So all the proteins they find there, they will access when they are in our hydrogels, when they are cultured in our hydrogels. So we call these hydrogels matrix spec. So we have more than 15 types of tissues and organs. So from lung to heart and vessels, spleen, and so on. And also we provide other types of materials that are derived from this hydrogel. So we have this tissue coat used for cell culture. So with these gels, the cells cultured on these coats, they sense better the native microenvironment, and they behave more realistically, let's say. And we also have this platform, air gel platform, for fabricating epithelial barriers. So with this platform, researchers can use to mimic the lung epithelial barrier. For example, there are a lot of researchers working with COVID, in the COVID area, that are using this platform to study drug and do drug screening, for example. And also, of course, we have our bioprinter. It's called Tissue Start. It's besides being very, very beautiful, I think very beautiful design. It's very robust and small, and we can use inside a safe biological cabinet in which everything is sterile. So we can put the machine inside there and combine cells with materials and print in the shape we want. So the combination of this product allow building complex structures. And just for you to know where we are located, so Tissue Labs is located in an incubator in the São Paulo University here in São Paulo. I put some photos of for you to see how beautiful São Paulo is. It's very busy, never sleep city. I really enjoy living here, and as you can see here, a lot of very high buildings. It's very, very beautiful. And here I want to present you my team. So I am not the founder of the startup. Gabriel Liguori, the first guy here in the picture, is the founder. So he's a medical doctor, and he was born with a congenital heart disease, which inspired him, let's say, to build this business, because he had this problem and he had to take surgery when he was very young, and now he wants to help people with the same problem. So later on, I will just tell this story for you, but people are joining him because we all share the same will, let's say. We want to help people. So Gabriel, he joined Emerson. He's an expert in machine, and he's an engineer, and he has a lot of experience in 3D modeling and bioprinting. So it was the perfect synergy. And also Eduardo, who is an economist and entrepreneur. So and at the beginning, this combination it was really important, really needed. I joined the team less than 1 year after the foundation, because I met Gabriel, and when I talked to him, I saw it was really that I wanted to join this team and help and participate and put the hands on, because so now I will introduce a little bit of myself. I am 32, almost 32 this this week, years old, and I am a chemical engineer. And since I was very, very young, in high school, I really liked engineering and science, and how this can be combined with biology and medicine to help people improve the quality of life of people. And then when after I graduated as chemical engineer, I pursued my specialization in a master's and PhD, working with biomaterials and tissue and organ engineering. So I have a lot of experience in these areas. And when I met the team, Gabriel and the others, I really saw the opportunity to put the hands on and to bring to, it's more like realistic. When you are in a startup, everything is dynamic and you can really see things happening. So you can really bring and put your expertise into the market. And I work with other very amazing scientists. This is just part of the team now. We are 14 people now in the company. Including people working in the lab, people working with marketing, sales. So we are we complete each other, each one with his own expertise, but it's very amazing team. And here I put our pipeline and milestones for you to see. So in January 2019, the startup was incorporated. And then we had our first grant, and we went to the incubator in that year. But only in January 2020, we had our first paying customer. And following, we had our first international customer in the US. It was very important. And then we were able to get very different, the first seed investment, and then followed by other grants, which were very important for the company to grow. And finally, in January this year, we established an office in Lugano, Switzerland, because it was very, very important for us to internationalize and bring our products to European market. It was, it still is challenging, but it's very, very important. And now, as you can see here, we are in more than 50 laboratories worldwide. We have a strong presence in Europe and of course in Brazil. We still want to achieve the rest of Latin America, but we have few clients in Mexico and the US. So our current product lineup can be used to address more short-term, more mature markets. So what does it mean? So pharmaceutical companies can use these products in their R&D initiatives for assessing drugs, cosmetics, for example. So with these products, it's possible to build tissue models. So people can use to replace animal testing, for example, which is very important. All the community is working towards this, like eliminating the use of animals in research. And of course, in the future, we know it's long term or medium term, but we will do have clinical applications of our hydrogels for regenerative medicines. This is our ultimate goal. And that's why we have what we say a dual business model. So now we are developing these solutions for these mature markets, so we get revenues to keep our research going on to achieve our ultimate goal. So I really I invite you to follow us in the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, so you can learn more about it, about the company, about us. And we are really happy to participate here, and I will be happy to take your questions and doubts. Thank you.
Okay, Renata, thank you so much for that presentation. Thank you for introducing us to your team. It's quite clear to me you have a very strong team with some strong leadership and some great skills within it. And I suspect that that's, well, we all know that is an incredibly critical important of your success in developing this innovation. There's lots of questions I'm sure we have here, and I hope we can return to them in the panel discussion, but we'll just dwell on one, if we may, Renata. This is a question from Ian. Quite a simple question, I guess. I'll paraphrase on Ian's behalf. Why Switzerland? What pulled you into Switzerland to put your European HQ and not on the Oxford Science Park?
Yes, this is a good question, because other locations, of course, were considered, but we consider like bureaucracy, and now because it was kind of easier to start a business in that ecosystem. And also the geographical location itself, it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
And of course, our team that is there, they speak Italian. So they chose Italian part of Switzerland. It was very helpful too. And the team is based in Ticino area. So it's quoted as the most promising in the biotech area in Switzerland. So it's a combination of factors that that's why we chose there.
That's great, and I think it's a very important move for you to move across and start collaborating in Europe with the technology you've got. So, okay, yes. Renata, thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm sure we'll come back to you in a panel discussion as we close up later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, we've all missed our holidays. We've been to Brazil. Let's go to Kenya. Joseph, would you like to introduce us to Kenya and also your story and your innovation?
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Joseph from Kenya. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here and excited to be part of this festival. So I thought I'd begin by reading a poem by Shakespeare, but then I thought, why should I? He never reads any of mine. So I'll get right to it. So what do you think of when you think of Kenya? Tim just mentioned the holidays, maybe. We seem to have pretty good beaches down in Mombasa, down at Diani, as well as Malindi. Oh, probably if you see a Kenyan, you probably think that they are a marathon runner or something like that. If not, probably the big cat family. You probably see the lion, the cheetahs, or basically Masai Mara. I'm assuming this is what we are known for, as well as tea and coffee. And we equally have a pretty good sevens team, if you love rugby, as I do. So who's Joseph? So I mostly go by the name Ondari, but Joseph is good as well. So I'm a leather scientist by profession. While I'm not doing that, I am playing rugby as well as cycling. I do lots of long distance cycling. So besides that, I have a background in leather science and technology. This is both from undergraduate as well as my master's level. I took this through university. This is the University of Nairobi. And then I have practiced for about 6 years at a tannery level, as well as leather products and footwear manufacturing facilities. And then I transitioned to a government institution that works to regulate the industry and develop policy to guide the leather industry in Kenya. Currently, I'm actually on a new role. I have recently moved to the States, so I'm not in Kenya at the moment. So I'm in Ohio, Cincinnati, where I've gotten a new role as a research associate at the Leather Research Lab in the University of Cincinnati. So I'm quite excited to be on this side. It's an entirely new experience for me. And yeah, I look forward to experiencing more of what Americans talk about. So why leather? Now, I have really been inspired by leather since while I was young. I've used leather products. Probably you have as well. You've had that shoe that the sole sort of wore out and the leather is still quite intact. That is relatable with you as well. So these products gave me such a sustainability story to it that you'd find a leather product that has been in existence for quite a while. I remember we had these seats back then, no, jackets, leather coats that after my dad got tired of using this jacket, we made wallets out of them. So this leather product really fascinated me at my younger age, and I found myself in the career. This is why I took up the option, and I have been practicing it for the last 6 or so years. So I'll take you into leather processing stages, probably just to let you know how leather is actually made. And leather comes from skins and hides. So skins are classified to be those from small animals, while hides are pretty much from the larger animals, that is the cow family, say buffaloes, the bigger animals, while the skins will be the sheep, the goat, probably crocodile, and the other smaller animals. So the initial stages is where you have the raw skin. In this case, we have raw goat skin, far on the left. Then you process that into an intermediate stage called wet blue leather. It is not fully processed leather, but it can be preserved at this stage. And then after that, you have a crust leather stage, which is the final stage of processing, sort of the final stage. You can use this leather at this point, or you can go further into finished processing. And that is basically to improve the aesthetic value of the leather. So I want you to take note of the stage from raw to wet blue, as my innovation revolves around that. So after you have your finished leather, you can transform that into the most beautiful products I'm sure you have come across that are made of leather. You have keychains, you have wallets. I made this with samples that I used in my innovation. So there's so many leather products, you name it, that I'm sure look way better than what I have here. So my discussion points will revolve around my team, which is right here. We have quite a capable team that entails an environmental scientist, as this innovation revolves around environmental aspects of leather processing. We have a biochemist on board, we have a chemist on board, and we also have a financial manager who is sort of our role model in the team. So I will discuss the problem that the industry faces. while working at the Leather Industries of Kenya, which is a tannery located right outside Nairobi, which is the capital of Kenya. Excuse me. So while working there for about 3 years, we faced constant challenges due to the smell of leather processing. If you visited a leather factory or a leather manufacturing facility, there's this identity smell that is associated with tanneries. So that is the challenge we had. We faced numerous concerns and complaints from the neighboring community, and this was immediately after my undergraduate studies. So this prompted the need to come up with a new solution to try and solve this problem of smell. So our team went into research. I actually went ahead also and put this in as my research for my thesis, master's degree thesis. And we came up with a solution for this. Our solution is an enzyme. What the enzyme does is it is extracted from a bacteria that is obtained locally from one of the soda lakes in the Rift Valley, home to one of the world's largest flamingo populations. So the bacteria is picked, grown in the lab, so basically multiplied, and the enzyme is extracted from it. So the enzyme is sort of an exudate from the walls of the bacteria. This enzyme is then applied onto the surface of hides or skins, depending on what product you're making. And thereafter, the hair can easily be scraped off from the surface of the leather. The current conventional process is basically associated with about 80 to 90% of the pollution that comes from tanneries. This technique, on the other hand, eliminates almost all the waste that comes that this stage of processing could produce. The reason I'd say this is that our technique does not break down the hair. So the stage is removal of hair from the surface of the skins. So what the conventional process does is sort of breaks the hair into tiny, tiny particles that form a sludge-like mass after processing. And this ends up in the wastewater and therefore brings challenges in terms of managing this wastewater, and also increases the load in terms of BOD and COD load. So the advantages of this technique are listed as follows. The natural properties of the enzyme, one, are non-toxic, and this means that you can handle the enzyme by hand, you can use it comfortably and not be worried about any toxicity. It equally lowers the cost of waste management, as the hair can be recovered from the wastewater. You literally just need to put a sieve in and recover all the hair. And this hair can actually be used in different other industries that require hair for their products. The enzyme is equally organic, unlike the competing chemicals, which are strong chemicals, industrial chemicals that pose quite great challenges with regard to managing them. And then the other thing is that the enzyme acts on the skin and makes it much softer. Actually, it makes it more pliable, as the enzyme is a protein and it acts on the elastin in the leather, elastin protein. This loosens up the leather slightly, making it more pliable. The milestones that we've been able to achieve so far include carrying out an industrial trial. In as much as our innovation is still at a very primary stage, at the development stage, we've been able to carry out an industrial trial with a local manufacturer in Kenya, and the results were remarkable. They were particularly impressed by the improved quality of the leather, as well as the reduced waste load in the effluent stream. Another milestone that we've been able to achieve is we've put up a patent application for this innovation, and this is ongoing and being processed. And we look to further developing our innovation. The next steps will probably be purification of the enzyme, and also get to package it in a way that it can be transported to different parts of the world, to different tanners in the world that not basically the Kenyan market. So we look to accessing different markets that will appreciate the kind of innovation that we have. So finally, we look to take up a business model that will create the product and it will end up directly to use in a tannery. We've also worked with research institutions who appreciated our innovation, such as the University of Nairobi, which was host to this innovation. However, we've had challenges as well that have limited the speed at which we progress our innovation. The main challenge has been access to equipment. The lab equipment that we are currently using are shared between about 3 departments in the Department of Chemistry and the Department of Biochemistry. So one development of the enzyme will take ages. I remember through the LEAF program, I was introduced to some of the manufacturers, big manufacturers in the UK. And I have had conversations with them, and I got to a point where they told me, could you send us samples of your product? And that is where sort of we stalled, because I have we have long lag times between when I can access the equipment or resources to acquire another equipment so that we can process this faster. Basically, that is all about our innovation. Thank you. It was really amazing to interact with you. I'll be open for any questions.
Okay, Joseph, there are some great insights there. Great insights into perhaps the differences that you see in the speed and ability for you to progress and develop the innovation in your own home country, compared perhaps to what your experiences might be in the US if you're in a leather research institute. Sarah asks, how did you identify the enzyme that you're using? Could you just go over that bit again for us?
Sure. All right. So this particular enzyme has really not been explored. So the enzyme the bacteria was initially obtained from one of the lakes. It's called Lake Magadi. It's down in the Rift Valley. So it was obtained for different functions. This bacteria was taken to the lab. They were testing it for dye exhaustion. So they were trying to clean wastewater using it by exhausting the dyes. So what happened is it showed some prospect of being to act on proteins, basically. And since hair is keratin, is pretty much keratin, that is where the link to picking it and trying it on leather came in. So it was a trial for a start, for sure. We took it, cut tiny pieces of leather, put them in lab beakers, and just shook it inside and give it some time and observed. So when we observed some promising results, then we thought this could be a solution. So we looked out for different bacteria and enzymes, which are quite a number in the market, so to speak. But this particular one, we chose and settled on it because of the ease of access to it. The lake is right next to my home, about a 15 minutes drive from my home. So that was really easy to acquire, as well as it showed quite remarkable results in processing the skins and the hides much faster than other enzymes that are available in the market.
Okay. Oh, Joseph, thank you very much. Right, in the interest of time, go on then, one more question from Ian. Right, Joseph, you ready? What business model are you proposing here? Is this a licensing opportunity for you, or are you going to make the enzyme and sell it? It's hard to get into this industry, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I've really looked at the two options that actually this is what our team was considering. Either go the licensing way or move into production. Production has really been challenging, as one, we're limited by funds as well as equipment. So going into production might be a long shot at the moment and might take a couple of years. So we're looking at going into licensing and probably have an already existing manufacturer support us in processing, manufacturing our product and and translating that into the market. But we're still brainstorming on this, and we look to get support and maybe guys to just advise us on what would be the best step to take forward.
Yeah, well, I'm delighted to hear that you have an opportunity to learn and work in the US and take that experience with you too. And I'm sure that you can pick up some
Sure.
ideas from that experience too.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, and right, Joseph, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing your sense of humor, which puts mine to shame. So, thank you so much. Right, okay, we'll come back to you in the panel discussion. Right,
Sure.
So last but not least, let's go across to Thailand. Dean Pen, are you there?
Yes, I'm ready.
Great, please feel free to share your slides with us.
I don't know how to say good afternoon, or so in Thailand it's good evening already. So it's now like 9 p.m. nearly 10. So hi everyone. So I'm doing Penjaprung from Thailand. So I don't think I'm entrepreneur because I don't have a spin-off or a startup company yet. I define myself as a scientist who really enjoys like public engagement and outreach. So I will tell you why I said that. So thank you, Tim and the LIF and also Oxentia to invite me to be part of this program, because I feel like I'm back home again, because I live in Oxford for 5 years. I study in Oxford, and I got the DPhil in chemical biology in 2010. My college is Balliol College in town. If you visit Oxford, my lovely college is just not far from the Sainsbury's. So you can visit my college. And the lunch in my college is really good. It's the best in Oxford. Okay, so when I was a student in chemistry department, it was my first time that I heard about the word spin-off and the startup company, because at that time, my supervisor, Professor Hagen Bailey, he did like a startup company called Oxford Nanopore Technology Company, or ONT company. So my DPhil project involved a little bit in that innovations. So after I graduated from Oxford, I moved to London to do like postdoc in Imperial College London for 2 years. And there I got some more connections with the academic, the universities and also some companies in London. After that, I moved back to my home country, which is Thailand, and worked as a researcher in the National Nanotechnology Center, which is the research center, National Research Center belong to the government. I was really, when I started my research, it was really hard time for me to get the funding, because in Thailand, we don't have much money to fund like all projects. I have to find the project that the government interested. Basically, it's got to be like a market driven or like problem driven. So I have to do the research and find out what is the really problem in Thailand that my experience can solve the problem too. So it's come with the sensor development to detect like early stages of the chronic kidney disease, or CKD. So why I interested in the CKD or chronic kidney disease? Because in Thailand, the CKD prevalence is really high, especially in northeast of Thailand. The prevalence is up to 27%, which is the highest number in the world. So the reasons why is the highest number in the world, because people who live in northeast of Thailand, they do agriculture, and they export to a lot of chemicals, and also their lifestyle. So they love to have like a salty food, like a spicy and salty food. All these factors induce them to get like a chronic kidney disease. The problem of the chronic kidney disease is you don't know you get it when you got the early stages, because it's no symptom. the people will know when they enter the late stages that have to do like dialysis treatment or kidney transplantation, which costs a lot of money, around like 200,000 baht per year, which is a lot of money. So I and my team developed the sensor that can basically screening for the early stages of the chronic kidney disease or CKD using like urine samples. Because of when you detect like early stages, the patient can just change their lifestyle and they can be reversed to normal again, and they can slow down the progressions from early stages to the late stages. So that why the screening for early stages is really important in this case. So our innovation, I mean, our product is like composed of portable detector, mobile applications linked together, and the solution test kit. The sensitivity of our sensor is higher than the existing products. Moreover, it's the point of care testing. So it means you can use it anywhere, anytime you want. And we launched these products like 2 years ago after we got Thai FDA approval. Our first customer is, and they also our collaborators as well. They are foundations related to the chronic kidney disease called Chronic Kidney Disease Northeast Thailand, or CKDNet, which is the foundation located in northeast of Thailand. So they use our sensor to screen for the CKD patients together with other activities. For example, interventions. They send some doctor, nurse to the area that have the high number of the CKD patients and try to advise them how to change their lifestyle to slow down the progression of the early stages to the late stages. So last year they informed us that by using our sensor together with their activities, they can slow down the progressions from the early stages to the late stages, like up to 20%, which is quite good number, and make us really proud and happy that we are part of this impact that help our country in Thailand. So we hope that our sensor can be used widely in Thailand and enter the global market within few years. So because our team have like a core technology about the sensor development, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we also developed what we call the COVID-19 antigen rapid test, or ATK, both professionals and home used. So within a year, we successfully developed both home used and the professional use of the COVID-19 antigen rapid test. And we got the Thai FDA approval. We applied for several IPs, and 2 big companies in Thailand licensed our IP to do like upscale and commercialization in Thailand now. So our development, I mean our IP, our COVID-19 antigen rapid test probably be the first one in Thailand that developed, I mean that do R&D and upscale and commercialize in Thailand. So the company they plan to sell this test kit in the other countries in Southeast Asia as well within 1 or 2 months. So, and here is the news in the newspapers and tellies about our antigen rapid test COVID-19 test kit. And apart from R&D work, because I'm a scientist, I use my science skill to promote science in Thailand. I am an ISC representative in Thailand. So ISC is a Royal Society of Chemistry based in London. So basically I'm a contact point for ISC member around the world who want to do like a science activity in Thailand. So they can contact me and I help them to set up the activity in Thailand. And because I love reading and writing, I got invited to write the science article in newspaper and also in science journal in Thailand as well. So I try to write the science article by putting some jokes and make science more fun and easier to understand. I hope that the student or kids or people who are not scientists read my article and want to be a scientist and love science like I do at the moment. And I also do the management. At the moment, I got a position as a research unit director, look after like 50 scientists in my research unit. And I also supervise 10 PhD students, one student from the UK and one from China. Basically, we do a sandwich program, so I supervise them. And 8 PhD students in Thailand, they are really good students, help me to do some experiment and do publications together. And because I come from like a rural area, I see like a big difference of the education system in the like poor areas, rural area in Thailand, comparing with the like Bangkok and in the city center in Thailand, and also the big difference between the Thailand and abroad, for example, UK. So I want to reduce the gap a little bit. So 6 years ago, I set up a foundation called the Jabrung Foundation for Rural Education to support like poor students in the rural area. So basically we give them some scholarships and set up some activity, teach them some like a basic science to students in the rural areas in Thailand, especially northeast of Thailand. So it's 6 years already and it's still running, my foundations. Because Tim want me to present about my life, so I put some more about my hobbies. Actually, I have a lot of hobby, but one of my favorite hobby is watercolor painting. So I show you here 2 of my watercolor painting that I paint like 3 years ago when I visit Chao Phraya River and temple in Bangkok. So I paint these 2 pictures, show you here. And as I also paint some sceneries in Oxford as well. If you live in Oxford, you probably remember this one, like a red clip camera, St. Cross Church. Yes, this is the church that near the Holywell Manor, and this is my Balliol College. This one is the Balliol Hall entrance that I used to have lunch every Friday when I study in Oxford, because the lunch, the dinner in Balliol is the best. And and this one is Holywell Manor, where I lived for 4 years during my study. And this is the Bridge of Science. If people visit Oxford, you probably go to see Bridge of Science and the red clip camera. Because I worked in London for 2 years, I still got some memory of London. I paint, I call a busy day in London as well. That's it for my story.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, Dean Penn, you overindulge us. What a wonderful presentation, what wonderful impact, and what great work you're doing in Thailand, and the connections back to Oxford are a great finish to hearing from our innovators. I'd just like to ask everybody to just unmute yourself if you can, and give please all our speakers a round of applause. Takayo and Lee and Renata and Joseph and Dean Penn, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. I think that it would be great that we could pull the conversation in whatever way we would like to. And so I'm going to turn to the chat, or please feel free to raise your virtual hands or just unmute yourselves and speak. I've got a question that's come in from Sarah, and Sarah says, having worked in Oxford and Imperial and now at Nanotech in Thailand, what are the key differences in the approach to to technology transfer between the UK and Thailand. You've seen some great things. You've worked with some amazing people that we're lucky to have here in Oxford. But what have you seen? What are the challenges and opportunities and differences you've seen?
So in Oxford, do you have like a environment to support and help you to do the tech transfer? So you are really lucky. But in Thailand, we probably like a first step or second step of tech transfer. We still don't have like a clear regulations how to do the tech transfer. Most of my work likely to be licensing. So because it's like more easier to manage. So let the big company deal with that. So I have to just transfer all knowledge to the big company. Now actually we are starting to do tech transfer in nanotech. I mean NASDA, which is like my workplace. Now it's probably like 2 companies that have been spin off in NASDA. From NASDA, but still not that. If compared with Oxford, I think we are just step 1, and Oxford probably like step 10 already. So it's quite big difference, but I think it's challenging, like. So we can learn from Oxford. Now we got like connections, and we can learn from that.
I think that's right. I've sat with NASDA, I've sat with TRF, and we've looked. I've worked in Thailand with them, and we've looked at how we can support and help them accelerate the activities that they do. But sometimes, Dean Penn, I feel that we can put all the policies in place and the training in place, but it takes individuals like you who are impacting with your innovation, not just internationally, but also locally too. The work that you've done with the COVID diagnostic and the work you've done with your foundation are phenomenal examples of how all the scientists that we have in the community everywhere, but particularly in places like Oxford, could perhaps take another look at what they're doing to deliver wider impact and to touch many more people's lives with the work that they're doing. So it's a wonderful example, Dean Penn. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a question for everyone that's come in from Elliot. Elliot, thank you very much. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from working with the UK and in the program that you've worked on specifically with us in Oxentia called the LIFT program? Maybe I could ask Lei. Lei, what's the biggest takeaway that you've had from working with the UK? What have you learned?
Wow. Yeah, this is. I think this is a big question. I was expecting this kind of question by the end of the LEAP program next month. so anyway, that's good. So I took 10 seconds to look back the past 8 months, and I think the biggest takeaway for me is communication as more as possible. So I have been trying to be an entrepreneur since about 5 years ago in a more Chinese way to do it. And the Chinese way to transfer your technology is you always need to is basically centered on you have to chasing the fund or money. If the government they offer you this free money, because government they don't ask for your shares, your company, so you have to. I have been giving the pitchings to the government, all the government organized competitions. I think tons of them, a lot of them, and it turns out to be a wasting of time. In my point, I mean, as I consider right now, if I look back. So this year in the LEAF program, I learned a lot. and we learn from each other's experience, from other people's failure stories, successful stories. And we have talking to a lot of customers, because I remember the LEAF program at the first 2 months is pushing us to talk to the customers, talk to potential users, and talk to even just the people in the same area, or even has some computation with you. So I think the biggest takeaway is trying to talk to and communicate with more people. The more, the better.
Okay. And Lei, thank you for that insight. And I'm so glad you raised that question from Elliot. Because it's something that we ask a lot. And I wonder whether any of our other speakers would like to comment. What is it that we could help you with from the UK? Maybe what is it we can help you from Oxford, but more widely the UK, that you can't get from elsewhere, that you can't get from the US, that you might not be able to get from Switzerland or Israel or some of the other great innovation centers. What is it about the UK that we could help you with? Maybe some of the other participants as well, Lei. Anybody else like to comment on that? Well, Lei, anything from you on that?
Okay, let me say something first. Since I'm working in a sector of the medical device, so to knowing or have a better understanding of healthcare system is a key to basically to craft your products and also your strategy. And we have been spent quite some time trying to understand how the Chinese healthcare system is working. And I think UK has a very unique healthcare system, right? And how you pay the doctor, how the citizens is get the service from the healthcare is quite different from US, and I think from other parts of the European or other parts of the world too. And what I want to say is we're seeing the Chinese healthcare system is constantly reforming, and I cannot expect the Chinese system would ultimately become a similar way as the UK healthcare system, but in some parts, and it's getting the similarity. The reform. I would say the governments are trying to find an advantage of the UK system and trying to implement it into the Chinese healthcare system as well. So to understand how the UK healthcare system works and how the medical device is transferred, is commercialized under the context of the UK is a medical market or healthcare system, I would thinking is a good plus for us in the near future when the Chinese constantly reforming of its health system to gain some similar features or gain some similar, I would say, similar features, we would get prepared to that change. So that's something I think how the UK experience would help me. The second thing is very straightforward. Like my products or my technology will not be satisfied only in the Chinese markets. We're looking at the globally. So we're going to expand to the US, to the European, to the UK as well. So to get prepared to know how the things works in UK, will ultimately help us to explore our international markets.
Okay, that's very helpful. You're not the first person to comment on the unique features of our national healthcare system that support innovation. So it's great to hear that from China. And yes, I think you're right about this. The concept of the UK being a connector, being able to, the UK would like to think it's very widely networked across the world. And the ability to connect up lay with opportunities and markets in Brazil, just going even via the UK is something that we would like to be able to impact across the world and not just the UK. So Lei, thank you very much for those comments. There's a wonderful question here from Dane. Dane, I wonder whether you might be able to just explain this one to us.
So I think there was a comment earlier on about Oxford being at, I think it possibly was from Dem Peng, about Oxford being at stage 10 in the sort of innovation ecosystem journey, and Thailand being at stage 1, so quite early, or it feels quite early in that innovation journey. But not all travel is linear. And so people and cultures and technologies are all traveling at different speeds and in different directions. And one example might be certainly phone communications in Africa have leapfrogged the wired communication infrastructure. And so people were early adopters of Wi-Fi and cellular technology and digital currencies and communicating through mobile phones, so not using traditional kind of technology infrastructure. So with this in mind, thinking about how you're all developing different kind of research and innovation and technology pathways in South America, in Southeast Asia, in North America, in Europe, all over the world, what themes seem to be kind of, I guess, maybe similar or different to the situation in the UK? And what baggage do you think has been avoided by operating outside of Oxford and outside of the UK? So what barriers might have you avoided by doing something culturally and socially on your own terms? And crucially, I'd like to kind of get Tim to reflect on this by just having observations of how work is happening in Peru, in Thailand, in China, all over the place. What can the UK learn from international kind of innovation sectors?
Great question, Dane. So who would like to comment on our panel of our speakers on that? What innovations have helped you? What unique aspects of your own journeys do you think have helped you accelerate your innovation that perhaps you wouldn't have had if you'd have been doing this from the UK? Or I mean, Lei, just to give you a little bit more time to think, I've come across this before, whereby regulatory environments are different in different countries, and it allows people, particularly with things like tissue engineering, gene therapy, regenerative medicine, it helps people to innovate at different rates because they're not caught up in a tighter, more highly regulated environment. And we see this a lot with stem cell science in Europe compared to how rapidly we can progress and advance this sort of technology in other environments that don't have that regulatory tightness. I think this is an example of perhaps how we can see innovations accelerating at different rates because we don't have the same restrictions. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this? Takayo, you've got your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's not directly related to my field or my innovation, but I think it's a personal experience that my mom and my dad are both medical doctors here, and they constantly welcome French or English or German medical students who choose to have exchange semesters here, because regulations, I know, for example, in Europe, the first year medical students are not allowed to touch humans. And here in Peru, particularly, I don't know if in other countries, you get to practice with humans since you are in your first semester of medicine. So doctors here in LATAM are known for being, really well prepared, especially when it comes for emergencies, because you get to practice since the beginning. So maybe that's related to that. I know that medical students in other countries, especially in Europe and the United States, only get to touch humans, really advanced in their careers. So that may be a point there.
Takao, I think that is a great point, and it's another indication of differences. We should celebrate these differences and not think of them as restrictions on our ability to innovate. Thank you very much. Just to reflect on that last point, I think it's a great point for us to finish with Dane. What have we learned here? What could Oxford learn from this incredible experience? And I don't think I've had such a stimulating Sunday afternoon for a long time. And I think it's this, that I have a feeling in my mind that there's something called an innovation bottleneck. And it's something that, if we're not careful, we focus too much on innovations coming out of the great research centers of the world. And what it does is it potentially drives, as we started this conversation, to produce some inequalities. And what's really important, we've seen in innovations from Takao and also from Dean Penn perhaps and others, that technology markets are stratified, and that a lot of you are developing innovations which are perfectly suited to your own regions and environments, and they're helping you guys innovate. Renata's innovation is going to help Latin America drive forward advances in tissue engineering and towards addressing challenges of organ transplantation. And if we don't open up this innovation bottleneck, this focus of us just looking at the great research centers of the world, we're going to build a much less resilient world for ourselves in the future. It's been quite clear that Dean Penn, you guys have gone ahead and you have built your own COVID diagnostic, and it's really important that we all drive our own national capacity in innovation, so that we develop our own in-country resilience. I know for a fact that we get our COVID tests, our lateral flow test, from China, and perhaps that's not the case for you guys in Thailand. And I think we've learned some great lessons from this pandemic, and that's one of them. And I think we all need to go on our own national innovation journeys and not just look at the world as one whole. I think I'll leave it there. Ian, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to, let me just take my video off. I was just going to add to that, Tim, and I think it was in Harvard Business Review, and I might get the finer details of this wrong, but I think it was GE who set a task to produce a portable X-ray machine for the African market. And this was developed, and it had to meet some pretty strict cost targets, and they managed to achieve that. And obviously, produce these machines for sale in the African market. The other thing that they learned, though, was that then there was a market back in America for medical practitioners to have these on their desk because there was now low enough cost. So I think sometimes we sort of devalue innovation in the developing world, but actually innovation for the developing world can have, good prospects in the developed world, if you put it like that. So, I think, the value of what people are doing in Thailand and Peru and China and everywhere, is great. And and long may that sort of cultural diversity continue. Yeah. And my second comment would be, I often think, so I worked for a Japanese company for many years, and working in R&D there, the cultural difference wasn't between the UK and Japan. The cultural difference was between R&D and manufacturing. So in R&D, you always want to experiment, you want to try new things, you want to, fiddle with the knobs, fiddle with the parameters to make things better. if you're in manufacturing, your ideal is to make the same product 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that's what the manufacturing engineer wants to do in a mass manufacturing market. So I think, you know, there's a lot that we can learn from each other, but the innovators all share some same cultural values in terms of experimenting, pushing the boundaries. And I think that's something that should be celebrated. And I think the speakers this afternoon have really exemplified that. And I think it's been a really great session. So just thank you to all of the speakers. For the people that don't know me, I am one of the mentors on the LIFT program with Tim, but I also chair the trustees for the Science Festival along with Dane and Tim. So thanks a lot to everybody. Much appreciated.
Ian, thank you for those comments. Dane, maybe I'll invite you to close the session.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Ian. And thanks, everyone, for joining, people who have come to find out what's going on, and, of course, all the speakers that have tuned in. It's morning, it's evening, it's afternoon for all of these guys. It's so nice to see the world coming together through science and technology and imaginative innovation outcomes. It's brilliant to see. One of the things that kind of comes to mind, just in summing up, is that we sometimes have these things called evolutionary traps. So we might think that we've found a solution to something, and Ian's comment about the technology that GE was developing is that we might think we've got a really good technology in our domestic kind of portfolio or in our global portfolio, and someone else somewhere who is agile and creative and entrepreneurial and, you know, looking to kind of develop a new piece of technology finds a new solution, and it helps everybody. So by distributing ideas and capability worldwide, surely we can get outside of evolutionary traps. And as Tim says, we can kind of move the whole world forward together. I think that's a really great thing to do on a Sunday afternoon or evening or Monday morning. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.